Hello techies. In the upcoming tutorials, we will learn and work how to automate employee onboarding process project by using Microsoft Power Automate Desktop. Alright, before developing a desktop flow by using Microsoft Power Automate Desktop, let me walk through the employee onboarding process web project which we are going to use as part of RPA automation. If you see on my screen, I have logged into https:/happybots.in/employee onboarding process.html. I will provide you the URL in the below description. HR team onboard the employees by using this URL, right? There we are going to provide first name, last name, date of birth, gender, job position, department, contact number, and their personal email ID. Along with that, we will provide the equipment preferences in such a way the employee required the operating system Mac or Windows, and the mouse preferences wired or wireless, and the keyboard preferences will give it as wired or wireless, and finally we'll provide the details of the headphone that is wired or wireless that is looking by the employee. Right, once we have provided all these details, right, we will generate the employee ID and the corporate email ID based on the given first name and the last name. This is the daily repetitive process which the human resource team will face on daily basis. Let me show you some of the details over here. I'm going to provide the first name over here as Amir and the last name as Basha, and the date of birth I'm going to give it as 21/10/1988, and the gender I'm going to give it as male, and the job position I'm going to give it as developer, and department I'm going to select one of the department from the drop down, that is research and development, and I'm going to give the contact number as 99, that is 10 nines, and I'm going to give the personal email ID over here as learning technologies 2020@gmail.com. And once you are going to provide all these details, along with that I'm going to provide the equipment preferences such as operating system as Mac, and the mouse preferences as wireless, and the keyboard preferences I'm going to give it as wired, and the headphones I'm going to give it as wireless. Once all the required information has been provided in the portal, that is employee onboarding process web portal, I'm going to click on submit. There you can see the employee ID has been generated as 74655 and corporate email ID as amit.basha@happybots.in. This is how the human resource team will onboard the employees by using employee onboarding process. Once it has been done, they will give the employee ID and the corporate email ID to the particular employee who has onboarded. But what are the business challenges will human resource face on daily basis in the organization for the employee onboarding? In general, the human resource department in any organization plays a critical role in supporting employees and enhancing the overall workplace environment to ensure that employees perform their jobs effectively. But considering the massive amount of data management, such as form filling, updating, validating records, and continuous influx of request processing drown the HR managers in the repetitive admin tasks. These are the challenges we'll face by human resources on daily basis in any organization. One is employee details, second one employee ID generation, third one email address generation. This is the daily repetitive task which human resource will face. The organization HR team has to fill the employee details manually in Excel sheet, and a new employee identification number has to generate by the IT or human resource department for the employee. An email communication has to be coordinated between IT and HR department for email generation for the particular employee. Once we got the employee ID and email, employee details has to be updated manually by HR in Excel sheet. These steps are manual process and tedious repetitive work. RPA in HR is helping put back the human in human resources. By implementing robotic process automation, organization can streamline the transactional HR tasks so that the HR team can focus on more valuable and strategic activities. To reduce the manual efforts of human resource in employee onboarding, we are going to develop a desktop flow by using Microsoft Power Automate Desktop. All right. Now I will show you the flow chart how the HR team will work for the new employee onboarding. All right. There you can see the HR team has to fill the employee details in Excel who are going to join on the particular day. All right. Once it has been filled in the Excel sheet, they will go to the web portal for the email and the employee ID generation. Once it has been generated the employee ID and email ID, they are going to update the employee details in the Excel once again. Once they have received these details such as employee ID and the email ID for the corporate or the organization, they will send these details to their personal email ID through mails. But over here, if you observe, these are all manual tasks. By using our RPA, that is Power Automate Desktop, we can automate these tasks from starting to an end. How can we go ahead and do that? The filling the employee details in the Excel, that what we will do, we'll retrieve the data from the Excel by using Excel automation. And then we are going to fill these details in the web portal for email ID generation and the employee ID by using browser or web automation in the Power Automate Desktop. Once we have received the email ID and the employee ID, we are going to update back the Excel sheet with Excel automation. And then finally, to send the details to the particular employee, such as email ID and the employee ID, which we have generated by using web portal to the particular email ID, in that case, we are going to use email automation. These are all the steps, what are the manual steps that we have that we are going to automate to reduce the efforts on the employee onboarding process by using RPA, right? There you can see employee automation, browser or web automation, Excel automation, and email automation, which we are going to use in our Power Automate Desktop to reduce the human efforts, and then we are going to create a desktop flow for that one. All right. Before going to create a desktop flow, I will show you a small demo of the employee onboarding process project by using Power Automate Desktop. I have already developed a employee onboarding process project by using Microsoft Power Automate Desktop. There you can see I have created with the name of employee onboarding process that by using this desktop flow, we can automate all the tasks which I have shown you right now. Before that, let me show you the Excel which we are going to fill the details. There you can see I'm having the Excel which has been filled by the HR. There we are having a lot of columns in such a way: first name, last name, date of birth, gender, job position, department, contact number, personal email ID, operating system, mouse preferences, keyboard preferences, and headphone preferences. Based on this, that we are going to generate the employee ID and the corporate email ID by using web portal, that is employee onboarding process. All right. Here you can see the employee onboarding process that we are having the URL https happybots.in employee onboarding process.html. Once the employee ID has been generated and the email ID has been generated, we'll send these details to the particular personal email ID which we have provided in the Excel. All right, there you can see I'm having personal email IDs. We are going to send these details to the personal email IDs which they have provided. All right, now without wasting time, let's run the flow by using the option called Run over here in the Power Automate Desktop. Flow execution started. Now it is trying to read the data from the Excel by using Launch Excel, and then it is trying to load the data by using web portal over there. There you can see it is going to launch new Chrome. Over there it is trying to use the URL http happybots.in/employee onboarding process.html. There you can see it has given as a first name as Amir Basha and the date of birth, gender, and the job position it has been given. And then it will try to select the department over there, and the contact number it will get it, and then personal email ID it will select that. and then based on the equipment's preferences which we have given, it will select the all the details over there, and then it will click on submit to generate the email ID. There you can see the employee ID has been generated as 25392 and the email ID has been generated. Once it has been generated, it will send an email to the particular employee which has been provided in the Excel. Alright, now we'll see that the email ID has been sent to the particular employee or not once this entire process has been completed. The demo for the RPA, that is Power Automate desktop flow, I have selected only one record from my Excel. There you can see I'm having email ID, personal email ID as basha.amir86@gmail.com, and the first name is Amir and the last name is Basha. Right? There you can see the employee ID, it has been generated as 25392 and the corporate email ID has given it as amir.basha@happybots.in. Alright, so now these details, what are the employee ID and the corporate email ID which we have generated by using web portal using RPA process, it has to send an email to these details to the personal email ID. Let me show you that. Now if you observe over here, in my first email I have received a mail with the email ID and the employee ID generation as the subject. If you click on that, now if you see into this email, that has been came from the email ID which I have given over here. There you can see I have given from email ID as learningtechnologies2020@gmail.com, and you can see in the two I have given basha.amir86@gmail.com, and the subject, it has been given as email ID and the employee ID generation. There you can see the body having welcome to HappyBots, your corporate email ID 25392, and your corporate email ID is amir.basha@happybots.in, and thank you from HR team HappyBots. Right? These are the repetitive process which we have automated by using Power Automate Desktop. Let me close this. Now in this session we will start creating a desktop flow for employee onboarding process project practically by using Microsoft Power Automate Desktop software. As a first step, we will work on web automation for loading data into employee onboarding process. Alright, if you see on my screen, I have logged in happybots.in/employee onboarding process.html. To load the data, now we are going to create a desktop flow where the data will be loaded into this URL by using Microsoft Power Automate Desktop. Alright, let's go to Power Automate Desktop. Now I'm going to create a new desktop flow for over here. Click on new flow, and I'm going to give the desktop flow name as employee onboarding process. And then I'm going to click on create. To automate the employee onboarding process that is related to the web portal, we can do in two ways. One is unified recorder, or the second one by using browser automation. In browser automation, to fill the data into the web form, that we are going to use web form filling. Along with that, we are going to use few of the actions over here, such as launch new Chrome, as well as to go to the new web pages like this. We can use different activities over here while you're going to fill the form by using browser automation. Power Automate offers several actions under the browser automation group to enable user to interact with the web browsers. By using unified recorder as well as by using browser automation activities, we can automate employee onboarding process. Alright. Now the simple one is that by using recorder, that is unified recorder, we can capture all the UI elements in the particular web portal. Unified recorder is one of the best features in the Power Automate Desktop, which will enable to capture user actions on the screen and then eventually convert them into the sequence of steps or actions in the Power Automate Desktop. Alright, to begin a browser automation flow, first of all, we are going to use launch new Chrome. Or you can use, based on your requirement, you can go ahead and you can use launch new Internet Explorer, or launch new Firefox, or launch new Chrome, or launch new Microsoft Edge. Now, my requirement is that I need to open this URL in the Google Chrome. So that I'm going to use launch new Chrome action onto the desktop flow. Let me drag and drop this action onto the workspace. And over here, you can see I'm going to give the launch mode as launch new instance and the initial URL. I'm going to copy the URL from here and then I'm going to paste it in the initial URL. And then the window state, I'm going to give it as maximize. And if you see over here under the advanced, I'm not going to give any kind of features over here such as clear cache, clear cookies, or wait for page to load. Only one option I'm going to give it over here. The reason is that we have to wait until the page has to load. So that I'm going to give the option over here as wait for page to load. And then you can see the timeout. I'm going to give it 60 seconds, which is the default one. And then I'm going to click on save. Once the browser has initiated, then I have to populate the text fields over here. There you can see I'm having first name, last name, and the date of birth I'm having it. These are all the text fields which I need to populate. For this, I'm going to use populate text field on web page with the specified text. I can use this one. Along with that, I can go ahead and I can select the radio buttons over here. And if I have checkboxes, I can use the checkboxes from the web form filling actions. There you can see I'm having set checkbox state on the in web form. Another one, select radio button on the web page. And also we're having the drop down so that we can set the drop down list value from the particular drop down. By using these options, we can populate the data and also we can set the data in the web form filling. Along with that, there is one we are having one button that is whenever you want to click on the button, there you can see I can press button on the particular web page, right? But these steps to capture it, it will be a little bit difficult to do this manually. But by using Unified Recorder, you can capture the user actions on the screen. All right. So that I'm going to use a Unified Recorder for the web application. I'm going to click on Recorder. Now we are going to capture the user actions by using clicking on Start Record from here. Click on Start Record. Now, whatever the user actions that I'm going to perform on the particular web browser, all the actions will be loaded in the record actions. First one, I'm going to populate the text box for the first name. I'm going to give the input text over here. There you can see I'm having red mark over here, which it is trying to identify the UI elements, right? There you can see the UI element has been identified as input text box, so that I'm going to give the value over here first name as Amir. And the second one, I'm going to give the last name, that is input text to populate the data. I'm going to give the value as Basha. And the date of birth, I'm going to give it as input over here to populate the text, so that I'm going to give the value as 21/11/1988. And the gender, I'm going to select as male. And then the job position, I'm going to give it as a developer. There also it is the input text field. I'm going to give the value as developer for the job position. And department, here is the selected value from the drop down, right? I'm going to select single value from the department where I'm going to select research and development. And the contact number, I'm going to give it as input text field over here to populate the text. There, I'm going to give all lines up to 10 values. Next one, personal email ID, where I'm going to give the email ID over here. That is basha.amir86@gmail.com. Next one, equipment preferences. I'm going to make it operating system as Mac. And mouse preferences, I'm going to give it as wireless. And keyboard preferences, I'm going to give it as wired. And the headphones, I'm going to give it as wireless. Once all the inputs has been given properly, then I'm going to click on submit to get the employee ID as well as corporate email ID. Click on submit. There you can see now I got two values. One is employee ID, another one Amir Basha at the rate of happybots.in. These are the two outputs which I need to retrieve from the particular web page. How can I go ahead and retrieve them? I'm going to select this employee ID. I'm going to right click on the employee ID and then extract element value. I'm going to get the text over here, not the title or exist or true or not. I'm going to select only text value as an output. Click on text. And then in the same way, the corporate email ID as an output, I'm going to get the output over from the particular text box. Right click on that. And I'm going to extract the element value as text. Now, these are all the user actions which I have performed on the particular web page. I have already captured by using the web recorder, or as per the December 2021, there are unified recorder. Based on the unified recorder, I have captured all the inputs and outputs for the particular web form filling. Once it has been completed, let's click on finish. Now I'm going to close the browser once again. Now you can see over here, what are the sequence of steps I have performed on the particular web URL to fill the data in the particular web form. All the sequence of steps has been captured along with the UI elements. There you can see on the right hand side, I'm having UI elements. Click on that. There you can see by using the recording, I got all the inputs over here. Input, input 1, input 2. And you can see all the outputs also over here in such a way. Whenever you are going to select the UI element, the respective values will be displayed below, right? Now, if you observe over here, what are the actions we have performed? All the actions are belongs to the web form filling. There you can see I'm having populate text field on the web page. You are having the action in the browser automation under web form filling. Another one, select radio button on web page, as well as set drop down list value on the web page, right? And after that, you are having select radio button on the web page. And finally, we have the outputs also related to this one, right? Extract data on the web page also. There also you can see press button on the web page whenever you're going to click on submit, right? Now, let's click on run to see the particular desktop is working as expected or not based on our given inputs. Click on run to see the output. Flow execution started. As a first step, it will try to launch new Chrome with the http happybots.in/employee onboarding process.html. And it will wait until the page loads. Now, the particular web page has loaded successfully. Now from here onwards, it will populate the data into the particular text box field over there. It will populate the first name, that is Amir, and you can see the last name as Basha. Date of birth 21/11/1988, gender male, and after the department you can see research and development, and the contact number it has been given as 999, and personal email ID has been given as basha.amir86@gmail.com. After giving all the inputs, it has clicked on the submit. There you can see I got the employee ID as 44631 and the corporate email ID amir.basha@happybots.in. All right. Now we have not closed the browser. We have not given that action. Now if you see over here, our flow has executed successfully, and there you can see the output data with the two rows. There if you click on the flow variables output data, there you will find the output data. One is employee ID, that is 44631. Another one amir.basha@happybots.in. All right, let me click on close. I hope you understand how to use Unified Recorder to capture the UI elements and the sequence of steps for the user actions. But if you observe over here in the flow, the entire data is static and or hard coded inside the flow. If you observe, whenever I'm going to populate the text field on the web page, I'm going to give the input as Amir. And if you see the last name as input as 2, and I'm going to give it as Basha. And if you observe all the populated text field and the radio buttons, I have hard coded over there. What are the inputs are there? I have hard coded in the desktop flow for the web automation or browser automation. Now, to pass the data dynamically to this browser automation, we are going to fetch the data from the Excel. If you see on my screen, these are all the data that the organization HR team has to fill the employee details manually in the Excel sheet. Like we are having per day, we are having thousands of records or thousands of employees or onboarding in the particular organization. right? In that case, I want to generate the employee ID as well as corporate email ID from the particular web portal, and then I have to provide the details over here in the particular Excel sheet. Or we need to update that in the particular Excel sheet to provide the details to the employees. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this entire browser automation flow into the subflow. I'm going to create a new subflow from here. Let's drop down the subflows and then I'm going to select new subflow. I'm going to give the name as browser underscore automation. All right. Let's click on save. Now, this entire steps, I'm going to cut and move it to browser automation. All right. Now I'm going back to the main flow over here. I don't have any steps over here. Now, as a first step, I need to read the data from the particular Excel. There you can see I'm having 5 records, 5 employee records, where I'm having multiple columns which are related to the web portal. If you look into this Excel, I'm having n number of columns over here. That is first name, last name, date of birth, gender, and multiple equipment details such as operating system, mouse preferences, keyboard preferences, and headphones. And all these columns are available in our web portal. There you can see in my happybots.in slash employee onboarding process.html, I'm having first name, last name, date of birth, and equipment preferences. Once we are going to click on submit, that we are going to get the employee ID and the corporate email ID, which we are going to get it as an output. And then we are going to store or we are going to update the particular row based on the given inputs from the particular table. All right. Now, first of all, we need to read the data from the Excel. This entire data I need to read from the Excel. How can I go ahead and read it by using Power Automate Desktop? Now we are having Excel automation, right? We are having activities which are related to the Excel. There you can see I'm having n number of actions which are related to the Excel. That is, one is launch Excel, another one read from Excel worksheet, and then close Excel. These are the actions which we are going to use as part of this tutorial towards the Excel automation. All right. Now, as a first step, to read the data from the Excel, we need to launch the Excel. Let me drag and drop this launch Excel onto the workspace. Now, if you observe the properties, launch Excel having the first parameter, that is launch Excel. Do you want the blank or you want to open the following document? I have already having some data in my Excel which has been filled by the HR, right? So that I want to open the following document, and then I'm going to give the path over here from where the document is. Okay, the document is available in my local folder, employee onboarding process, right? Let me select that. And over here, you can see make instance visible. What will happen if you're going to select this property? Whenever you are going to run the Excel or if you're going to do some kind of updates, in that case, the instance will be visible. All right. And then I'm going to click on save. Now, if you observe under the flow variables, I got the Excel instance. Now, based on this instance, I'm going to do the next activities on the Excel. The next activity is that I need to read the data from the Excel, right? There, if you observe once again, I'm having the data in my Excel up to n number of columns. I need to read the data, and the rows, whichever I am having, I need to read the data, all right? To read this data, I'm going to use read from Excel worksheet action. Let me drag and drop this action onto the workspace. Now, the first parameter is that Excel instance, that is which we have used for the launch Excel. As an output, we got the Excel instance. The same Excel instance, I'm going to use it. And then if you see the main property retrieve, or the parameter is the retrieve. There, if you want to get the value of a single cell or values from the range or values from the selection or all available values from the Excel sheet. So what will happen if I'm going to select values from the range, then you need to mention the range over here, that is A2 to L6. But I want to read the entire data. In that case, let's assume including the columns. In that case, I'm going to use this entire all values in the table, including this corporate email ID and whatnot. All the values we will get it inside the property. All right. So over there, what I'm going to do, I'm going to retrieve the values in a such a way, all available values from the worksheet. All right. Now, variables produced, you can see it as Excel data, right? I'm going to keep it the variables produced as is, and then I'm going to click on save. Now, if you observe, in my Excel data, I'm having all the data which I have read from the particular Excel. Now, I need to pass this data to the browser automation, right? So how can I go ahead and execute the subflow over here? There we are having run subflow is the action. Let me drag and drop this action onto the workspace. Now I'm going to select the parameter over here, run subflow. What is the name of the subflow? I'm having browser automation. Let me drop down that and let me select that. And then I'm going to click on save. Now, if you observe over here, I'm going to read the data, but I want to pass only single row at the same time, right? I can't pass all the entire data like I'm having n number of employees. All the data, I can't pass it directly to the browser automation. In that case, what I have to do, I have to pass the data row by row. For that, I'm going to use for each action. Let me drag and drop this for each action before calling the subflow. All right. Now, the parameters, if you see, value to iterate. What is the values that you iterate? The output data which we got it from the Excel, that is Excel data. Let me select that. I'm going to select the variable over here as Excel data. And then I'm going to store inside the current item itself. And then I'm going to click on save. Right. Now, it is going through the loops for n number of records. And then if you observe in my Excel, I'm having the first row also is I'm having first name, last name. These are the columns which I don't require. So I need to skip these columns so that what I can do, I'm going to set a variable first by using set variable action. Let me drag and drop this variable before for each. And then I'm going to assign the value as 1. So what will happen if it is the first iteration is 1, in that case, I'm going to skip that values and then I'm going for the next iteration. That is my agenda over here. All right, let me click on save. Now I'm going to use as per our condition, if condition, I'm going to use it. Now let me drag and drop this conditional if action onto the for each, and then I'm going to make it the operand new var, that is whatever the variable that we have set variable that I'm going to select is not equal to 1. Then only I need to run this subflow. That is my condition over here, right? If you observe, I'm going to drag and drop this run subflow inside the if conditional action. And then if you observe over here, I have set a variable as 1 so that in the entire data, it is going to be skipping it. If new variable is not equal to 1, then it will run the flow. If it is equal to 1, then it won't run the subflow over here. All right. Now, the loop has to increase step by step, right? Because of for the next row, the new variable value has to increase by 1. So that to increase the variable value, I'm going to use another action, that is increase variable action. Let me drag and drop this increase variable action after if condition inside the for each loop. And then I'm going to increase the variable by 1, right? What is the variable that I'm going to use it? New variable, and then increase it by 1 value. All right, let me click on save. Now, if you observe over here, I'm going to read the data from the Excel, and after that, I'm going through the loop for the Excel data, and whatever the current item which we are going to get it, I'm going to pass the data into the subflow, right? As of now, we have not passed the data, but actually the agenda is we need to pass the data. If the row is equal to 1, then we are not passing the data into the run subflow. If it is not equal to 1, then we are going to run the subflow, which is browser automation over here. Now, whatever the output we are going to get it, that output will be in the columns format. Let me show you that. Before that, what I will do, I will disable this run subflow for the time being, and then let's run the flow to see the output. flow execution started. It is trying to launch an Excel, and then from there onwards, it will read the data from the Excel, and then whatever the output that we are going to get it from the read from Excel, it will store the data inside the Excel data. All right. Now, if you observe over here, the Excel instance has been visible. There you can see it is trying to show all the data over here. And then it read the data from the Excel, and then it has been stored the data inside the Excel data. There you can see, if you observe the Excel data, I'm having 6 rows and 14 columns. Let's click on that to see the output over here in the Excel data. Now, if you see over here, I got new columns over here in such a way, column 1, column 2, column 3, and so on up to column 14. You can see over here, even I'm having employee ID, corporate email ID, right? Now, all these values has retrieved and stored inside the Excel data. Now, I have skipped this row number 0, that is index 0, and from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records, I'm going to pass the data to the Run Subflow. All right, let me close this, and then we'll see how the data will be passed to the browser automation subflow. Now we'll go back to the browser automation, and there over here, we don't need to pass the data from main flow to the subflow because of whatever the flow variables that we're having inside that, all the data will be applicable for all the subflows as well as the flows. Now over here in our main flow, the iteration will happen, right, in for the Excel data, and the data will be getting into the current item. So we are going to work on the current item, right? Current item of 0, current item of 1, 2, 3, and so on. Now, if you observe over here, the input value for the Amir is in the Excel, it is current item, that is 0, it will come over 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right? It will start from 0 until till 11 it will comes. Now I need to give the same values inside my browser automation also. So I'm going to select the populate text field, and I'm going to change the text value over here as current item. So select the variables over here, and then I'm going to select current item of 0. I'm going to give the index over here as 0. And in the same way, I'm going to give the value for the populate text field, that is input 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. All right. Now, for the remaining values such as radio button and the drop down list, I'm going to give the values in such a way. If radio button equal to male, that is the value which we are going to get it from the particular column, that if you observe, if gender equal to male, then I want to select the input over there as input 4. If it is not equal to male, then I'm going to select another radio button that is as 6 or 7. All right. In such a way, we are going to do that. Let me modify that. I have made the required changes in the browser automation in such a way. If you see current item of 3 equal to male, then I'm going to select the radio button as input 4. If current item of 3 is not equal to male, then I'm going to select input 13, that is radio button. All these additional UI elements have been captured once again in the UI by using UI elements. In the same way, I'm having keyboard preferences, headphones, operating system, and whatnot. All the radio buttons related changes I have made it in the respective way. You can see current item of 9 equal to wire, then I'm going to select input 8. If not, then it equal to 15. There in the same way, current item of 10 equal to wire. Wherever the radio buttons are there, I have used if conditional action for the radio buttons. And if you see for the drop down list, I have selected the current item of 5. There you can see the current item of 5, I'm going to give it inside the set drop down values so that it will get the values from the current item of 5, whatever the values are there. It will select the values in the drop down based on the given item in the Excel. All right. Once the data filling has been completed, I'm going to close the web browser, and then the output coming from the web portal, that is email ID after that employee ID, I'm going to store in the output data that it will comes in 2 rows. All right, let me click on save. Now, whatever the output, we are going to get it inside the output data, that is email ID and the employee ID. I'm going to write the data inside the Excel once again. So how can we go ahead and write the data? By using write to Excel worksheet. Let me drag and drop this write to Excel sheet inside the if condition. The reason is that I don't want to write the data for the first row in the for each loop, right? So that I'm going to drag and drop this write to Excel worksheet inside the if condition. Now, into the write to Excel worksheet, what is the value to write it? So whatever the output, we are going to get it into the output data, that I'm going to write it into the value to write, right? So that I'm going to select the output data from the variables, and then I'm going to select output data. But inside that, I'm having two values. One is employee ID, another one email ID. So that to differentiate that, I'm going to select the indexes 0 of 0 for the employee ID, and then I'm going to write mode on the specified cell. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to write the column as 13. 13 column in the Excel, I'm going to write the data. And then over here, I need to give the row number over here. What is the row number? Every time that I'm going to store the rows in the new variable, right? So row is incrementing by 1, right? New var equal to 1, 2, 3, and so on. So that I'm going to select new var over here, and then I'm going to click on save. In the same way, for the corporate email ID also, I'm going to write into the column 14, and then row is new var only. And then I'm going to give the output over here in such a way as output 10, and the column is 14. Let me modify that. We're going to give column name as 14, and then the output value to write it as 1, index 1, 0. And then I'm going to click on save. Now we have read the data, we have written the data inside the Excel worksheet. Once it has been done, I need to close the Excel by using close Excel. Let me drag and drop this close Excel action onto the workspace. And then over here in the parameters, I'm going to give the Excel instance, which I already opened, that is Excel instance variable. And before closing the Excel, I want to save the data. So that I'm going to select the option save document, and then I'm going to click on save. Over here, the entire desktop flow is ready. In such a way, we are going to launch an Excel, and then we are going to read the data from the Excel, and then we are going through the loops. For that, we are going to run the subflow, that is browser automation. Based on the browser automation, we are going to get the output after filling the data, such as first name, last name, date of birth, and the required equipment preferences. We are going to get the output as email ID and the employee ID. And then we are coming back to the main, and then we are going to write the data into the Excel, and then we are going to close the Excel once the entire data has been returned successfully. All right, let's run the flow to see the output. Click on run. Flow execution started. It is trying to launch Excel, and then it is trying to read the data from the particular Excel worksheet. And then based on the condition, it will launch new Chrome. And then if you see over there, it is launched happybots.in/employee onboarding process.html. And from there, it is trying to give the inputs as first name, last name, date of birth, gender, job position, and there you can see the department as human resources, contact number, and personal email ID. Along with that, it is trying to give the inputs for the equipment preferences in such a way: operating system, mouse preferences, keyboard preferences, and headphones preferences. Based on the Excel inputs, it will give all the inputs over here, and then it will click on submit, and it will try to get employee ID and the corporate email ID, and then it will write the data into the Excel. Once it has been completed, it will go for the second record. In such a way, it will launch once again the new Chrome, and then it will give the first name as Anil and last name as Kumar. All these inputs are coming from the Excel. And this is the continuous repetitive process. How many records that we have in the particular Excel, it will try to fetch all the records, and it will give the input based on the row details from the particular Excel worksheet. All right. For the second row, that is Anil Kumar, we got the employee ID 52291 and the corporate email ID anil.kumar@happybots.in. Now it will go for the third record after extracting the data and after writing the data into the Excel. Now the final record is in progress. The first name is Shanti and the last name is Yes. Once it click on submit, employee ID and the corporate email ID has generated. You can see over there employee ID at 23614 and the corporate email ID shanti.s@happybots.in. Now the entire records in the particular Excel has been processed successfully. Now it is trying to close the Excel by saving the data. Flow execution has completed successfully. Now let me open the Excel to see the output in the Excel. If you observe in the Excel, all the records have been processed and you can see their employee IDs along with the corporate email IDs has been updated in the Excel. All right, you can see the employee ID for first record is 93174, second one 52291 and 24405 and Shushma is 43633 and Shanti we got it as 23614 and respective corporate email ID has been generated and updated in the Excel. All right. Now, as a final step, we will send the details such as employee ID and corporate email ID to their personal email ID through email automation. All right. Let me show you the Excel. In our Excel, we are having all the columns such as first name and last name and n number of columns we have, right? In our previous tutorials, what we have done, we have created the employee ID and corporate email ID. Along with that, we have updated the details in the Excel. Now these details I need to send to the personal email ID. There you can see in the Excel, we are having the column personal email ID. I need to send these details to this personal email ID through email automation. How can I go ahead and do that? Under the actions, I'm having email. There you can find send email action. By using this send email action, we can send the emails through SMTP server to the personal email IDs. Before that, for the from email ID, I'm going to set a variable. Let me drag and drop this action onto the workspace. I'm going to give the variable name as from email and I'm going to give the value as email ID such as learning technologies 2020@gmail.com. Let's click on save. Now I need to send the emails to the particular email ID. How can I go ahead and send that? By using send email action. Let me drag and drop this send email action onto the workspace inside the if condition. Now if you see the parameters for send email, I'm having first parameter as from. From which email ID you need to send the details, right? I'm going to select from email ID from the output variables. There you can see I'm having the variable as from email. Let me select that. Now the sender display name, I'm going to give the name as happybots and to email ID. This to email ID will get it from the Excel data. From Excel data to we are going to loop through the condition, that is by using for each loop, and then we are going to get the values in the current item, right? I'm going to select current item. The index is 7 for the personal email IDs. I'm going to give the index as 7. All right. Now the subject I'm going to give it as employee ID and corporate email ID. All right. Now in the body, I'm going to mention it in such a way, hello. I want to provide the name over here. So the name of the first name of the particular person. How can I go ahead and do that? In the current item, I'm going to select the index of 0. Index of 0 is nothing but first name. comma. Then I'm going to say, please find the below details for your reference. Next, over here, I'm going to provide employee ID in a such way your employee ID. So over here, how can we get it the employee ID? From the output data. Output data, what is the output data? We are having two rows over there, right? 0 and 1. So I'm going to select output data of 0. And then I'm going to say your corporate email ID that I'm going to give it the output of 1. Let me copy the same and then I'm going to give it as index as 1 over here. All right. Now I'm going to say thank you, regards, HR team, comma, happy bots. All right. This is the entire body I have given it. Wherever the dynamic values we are going to get it, I'm going to give it as current item of 0. And then I'm going to give the employee ID from the output of 0, output data of 1, right? And then this is the entire subject I have given it. Now coming to the main parameters, that is SMTP parameters. Now I have to give it the SMT parameter, port number, and after that SSL details. How can we get these details? Now I have used from email ID as learning technologies. I'm going to the same email ID. I'm going to logging into the Gmail. On the upper right hand side, I'm having settings. Go to settings and then see all settings. There you can see I'm having forwarding and pop IMP, pop or IMAP. Click on that. There you can see I'm having configuration instructions. Select that. Now if you observe over here, I'm having all the details related to the SMTP server. We are using SMTP server for outgoing mails, right? There you can see the server name as smtp.gmail.com. Let me copy the same. And I'm going to provide inside my desktop flow. I'm going to give the SMTP server as smtp.gmail.com. And after that, if you see required SSL, I'm going to make it as S. And required authentication, yes, I'm going to make it. The same options, I'm going to select it over here also. Enable SSL, yes. SMTP server needs authentication. I'm going to enable it. And then I'm going to provide username and the password. So the username, I'm going to give it as from email ID only. I'm going to select the variable over here as from email. There I'm going to select from email ID. And password, I'm going to select it in such a way, I'm going to give the password direct password input. I'm not going to give the password input as variable. I'm going to use direct password as input. And then I'm going to click on save. Now our entire desktop flow for employee onboarding process is ready. Now before going to run this desktop flow, I need to make few more changes in my Gmail security. Now over here on the right hand side, I'm having my email ID. Let's click on that and then go for manage your Google account. Click on that. Now we're going to the security tab over here. Click on the security tab. Over here, you have to make access to less secure apps was turned on. So in such a way, in your Gmail account, it should be in off status. So go over here in the less secure apps and then make it as on. Now, if you observe once again the Excel sheet, I'm having personal email ID as basha.amir86@gmail.com. Another one, learning technologies 2020 @gmail.com. These are the two valid email IDs and the remaining three are not valid, so that we will get it as mail delivery system failure. All right. Now, at least we can show these two valid email IDs over here. Now, our entire desktop flow is ready for the employee onboarding process. Now, let's run the flow to see the output. Flow execution started. It is trying to read the data from the Excel by using read from Excel worksheet, and then it has passed the data to the browser automation. There you can see it has been launched successfully, that is http:/employee onboarding process.html, and it is trying to fill the data for the first record, such as first name as Amir, last name Basha, and the respective details such as job, position, developer, and the department as human resources, contact number, personal email ID. Now, if you observe, we have given personal email ID as basha.amir86 at the rate of gmail.com, right? And the equipment preferences, it has given respectively and it's clicked on submit. There, the new employee ID has been generated. And now what it will do, it will send an email to the particular personal email ID. Now it has already sent successfully. Now it is going for the next record. There you can see it has filling all the details, including personal email ID. Over here, the personal email ID, we have given it as learningtechnologies2020 at the rate of gmail.com. All these details are coming from the Excel, right? Including the equipment preferences and whatnot. Once it has been filled the details, it will click on submit and new employee ID and the corporate email ID has been generated. And it will send an email to the personal email ID, and it is continuous repetitive process. It will process all the records and it will send an email to the particular email IDs. All right. Now the entire desktop flow has executed successfully. The desktop flow has executed in 3 steps. One is Excel automation to read the data from the Excel, and then it has filled the data into the particular browser for the employee onboarding process by using web automation. And third one, we have sent an email to the personal email ID after generating employee and email ID by using email automation. All right. Now, let me go back to the email. There you can see we have received a mail from HappyBots, that is employee ID and the corporate email ID. Let's click on that. Now, if you see over here, I'm having with the subject as employee ID and corporate email ID. And you can see, hello, Amir. Please find the below details for your reference. Your employee ID is 70147 and your corporate email ID is amir.basha@happybots.in. Thank you. Regards, HR team, happybots.in. We have received the mail successfully by using our desktop flow. I hope you understand how to work with Excel automation, browser automation, or web automation. And also we have seen how to work with email automation as part of this entire project, that is employee onboarding process. Thank you for watching Power Automate tutorials. If you have any queries related to this entire project, please post them in the comment section. I will see you in the next session. Till then, bye bye. Have a wonderful day.